Good morning. It's Wednesday, January 17th, almost 8 o'clock in the morning here in western Iowa. And we turn our eyes to exciting weather in the Pacific Northwest, especially Idaho into Montana and Wyoming. And then we'll talk about some light snow coming to the Midwest with some very cold temperatures behind that. We still have big lake effect snows coming off of the Great Lakes, and we have that light snow coming to the Midwest that'll be moving east. So let's get into it. We're going to look at the surface maps this morning. I love these, and the National Weather Service cranks these out every morning, so you might see more of these on this channel moving forward. And this is effective from 7 o'clock this morning Eastern Time until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning Eastern Time. And you can see that storm moving into the Pacific Northwest, bringing rain to the coasts, snow in the mountains, of course, freezing rain, Columbia River Gorge, and then some heavy snows into eastern Washington, north central Washington, northern Cascades in Washington. Also heavy snow into northwest Montana, into the northern central portion of Montana, out into the plains there. And some pockets of heavy snow, Idaho, snow in Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, some heavy snow near Yellowstone. And then we see that strip of snow moving through South Dakota, Nebraska, here into Iowa, northern Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and then Michigan getting snow. And it's heavy snow off the Great Lakes for Erie and Ontario, those lakes into New York State. So that's what's going on today. Then tomorrow we see things progress a little bit further east, as you might imagine. So a little better chance for snow, South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and then eventually moving into Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York with those heavy lake effect snows still coming off of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. Meanwhile, the freezing rain continuing in the Pacific Northwest, especially in the Columbia River Gorge and pockets near Portland, Oregon. And then that's a mix for western Oregon, so some chilly air for sure, with a mix of rain and snow all the way down to the Oregon and Washington coasts. Meanwhile, you see Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, and North Carolina with a mixed precipitation, and that's ice for eastern Tennessee, portions of Kentucky, into the mountains of Virginia and North Carolina, so watch out for that. And then we see showers for Florida and rain for the rest of the South. And then as we get into Friday, look at that cold front. This cold front is all the way through Texas. So this is the next batch of very cold air moving into the plains and to the Midwest, and we'll show you those temperatures and wind chill factors here in just a little bit. But Friday, we've got rain now for the Oregon coast, Washington coast, and into California. Snow in the mountains, a little bit of freezing rain possible. Washington, the Columbia River Gorge. And it's snow for the Ohio Valley into Pennsylvania, New York, West Virginia, Kentucky, and parts of Virginia, with heavy lake effect snows off of Lake Michigan as well on this map. So let's go to the GFS and we can show you what's going on here. We're going to start at 6 o'clock this morning Central Time and go through time. And so you see we already have the snow coming down Intermountain West into, of course, especially Montana, Idaho, and the Cascades of Oregon, that little bit of freezing rain around the Columbia River Gorge and into portions of the Portland area and down the Willamette Valley a little bit, which changes into regular rain as you move further south in Oregon. Then as we go through time, we can see things progress, and as we get into, say, tomorrow morning, this is 3 a.m., here in Central Time. A little bit of light snow moving across, just a ribbon of light snow here. But the main storm back in Montana, mainly Idaho as well, and coming down hard if you're in Yellowstone and other portions of Wyoming and towards the Great Salt Lake in Utah. As we move through time this is tomorrow noon right here. So this is what I'm watching here in western Iowa, because we're looking at a quick 1 to 3 inches of snow from this little batch of snow, with the cold air spilling in behind it and the winds increasing too. So, here where I live in Harlan, we had about 20 inches of snow on the ground. Temperatures haven't been much above zero. We got a little bit above zero yesterday, and I think it's 6 degrees right now at 8 o'clock in the morning when I looked at my thermometer out the window. So the snow, we may not have 20 inches of snow on the ground anymore because it compacts over time. And they've been able to clear the roads for the most part because the winds die down. Well, what we're looking at now is a quick 1 to 3 inches of snow tomorrow afternoon into the evening, and then the winds increasing to blow that new snow around, plus some of the old snow around. We could see drifts forming across the roadways again, and brutal wind chill temperatures returning. So winter, the brutal part of winter that we've been experiencing here in the Midwest and Central Plains is it's going to be darkest before the dawn. We do have a warm up eventually, but we have to get through this weekend first. And we start to see more light snow, even some ice here in Tennessee, rain in Mississippi down into Louisiana. This again is noontime to Thursday, so tomorrow, and then afternoon and then evening. And this batch of snow continues off to the east. Now snowing in Illinois, Indiana, moving into Ohio, Kentucky, eastern Kentucky at least. You're getting some snow, a little bit of ice thrown in here as we highlighted earlier. And you can see this cold air also spilling south behind the system. Meanwhile, Pacific Northwest, another storm moving in. More ice for western Oregon, Columbia River Gorge, heavy snow in the Cascades, and rain along the coast. So this batch of snow continues to progress eastward. Again, it's on the light side, but you could see, 1, 2, 3, 4 inches of snow from this as it moves through. And that cold air spilling in behind. Meanwhile, the Pacific Northwest storm, some light snow, eastern Oregon into Idaho, with a little bit of some ice here. And it's regular rain now, Washington coast. So we look at the time here. This is afternoon Friday. This is morning Friday, 9 a.m. Now at noon Friday. And the snow lightening up and exiting the east coast. But we see lake effect snows coming off of Michigan. So places like Grand Rapids could see some pretty good snows coming down from that. Meanwhile, the Pacific Northwest storm has moved off, but we have another storm off the southern Oregon, northern California coast, bringing rain to California as we move into time. And that seems to dissipate. Another storm here lifting northward parallel to the Oregon-Washington coast, bringing some nice rains to Washington. And then we see some rain moving into California as we get into the 22nd or so. And we start to see things warming up a little bit into the Midwest, but we have a pocket of freezing rain here for Dallas along the Red River, southern Oklahoma, with some showers and thunderstorms south of that. So that bears watching as we get into next week. But, remember, the further out we get with the model runs, the less certainty there is, but definitely bears watching. And, of course, we'll be keeping an eye on it since we do forecasts here every day, right? Okay. So, again, behind the storm, that's it's kind of it's a weaker storm because it's not a lot of snow. But behind it is going to be some very cold temperatures. So these are the lows for the United States Friday morning. And we've got 20s and, freezing temperatures through the better part of Texas. So even Austin here at 31. And then even up in the south, we have freezing temperatures through most of Mississippi and Alabama, and half of Georgia and half of South Carolina and all of North Carolina further up the coast. Those temperatures get lower, as you might expect, as you go further north into the teens, Pennsylvania and Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York State, and single digits up there, West Virginia. New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. But you got single digits, as far south as Kansas here, Missouri, and Illinois. And then we get below zero for us here in Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, North and South Dakota. Teens below zero for Montana. and single digits below zero. For Wyoming, you throw in the winds, and we have 20s below zero in Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, and parts of Wyoming, and even sneaking into Illinois, teens below zero as far south as Kansas and Missouri. Then it gets colder on Saturday. So these are the actual air temperatures, and we're talking 22 degrees below zero Omaha, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, similar temperature, and teens below zero otherwise for Iowa and Nebraska and South Dakota and North Dakota and into Montana. And you throw in the winds, and this is brutal. We're going to have another wind chill warning for Iowa into Nebraska with wind chills 35 to 40 degrees below zero along the Missouri River, which separates Iowa from Nebraska. It's kind of the bullseye for the coldest air, but all of Iowa, at least minus 30 for the wind chill. So this is dangerous wind chills, and I'm sure we'll have warnings out for that. And then, as we continue to update you day by day by day, you've got something to look forward to next week, and that's a warm-up for a lot of people that have been very cold for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. So we are looking forward to that, and we'll keep you posted right here. Thank you for tuning in to the Weather Mic. Have a great day.